different stages and why chiropractic is beneficial. Where to go? Okay. Hello there online. Hello there here present. We have an adorable little baby with us. Yay! I'm going to talk about your age first. So, what's chiropractic all about? Could you bring me? That's fine, Doc. Thank you. So let's have actually, Brooke, would you read this first statement?
Same body is self-regulating organism that the nervous system coordinates all of the body that vertebral subluxation and interfere with that.
Okay, it's a lot of words. So in your own words, would you kill the music? In your own words, what does that mean?
You're out of place. You're out of place.
Oh, I like it. A little Brookism. I like that. Scott, anything else you would add to that? Okay. So one of the big deal, all of that's a big deal, but the first part really differentiates the philosophy of chiropractic from the philosophy of Western medicine. Western medicine and what we call an outside-in approach. So you have a symptom that you don't want. You have a fever, you have a cold, you have a headache, you have a stomach ache, whatever. You take something from the outside, you put it in to suppress whatever that symptom is. So that's an outside-in approach, and it doesn't really honor the self-healing, self-regulating part as much as it could. Because an easy thing would be, let's just talk about a headache for a minute. What are some possible causes of headaches? Tension, lack of nutrition, not drinking enough. For me, it's usually, if I ever get a headache, which is very seldom, which I'm very grateful for, I should knock on something, or wherever the wood is, we'll knock on the spine. Not enough water or too much sun. I'm obviously bald at this point, but even my eyes are very sensitive to sun. So if I play outside and if I don't have sunglasses on, that's likely I got a headache. So the joke is, if you get a headache, it's not because I'm Advil or ibuprofen deficient. It's because I did something my body didn't like. And there's a whole bunch of other reasons. Cervicogenic is one. The neck being out of alignment can definitely cause pressure to the head, is a very big cause of it. So an outside-in approach would be, okay, we'll just take a pill and just get rid of the headache. The inside-out approach would be, okay, what is it that we might be able to do to help that self-healing, self-regulating organism to work better? So then what Brooke read, subluxations interfere with that. And we all know, if I ask anybody what controls the whole body, I asked a little 5-year-old today. She said, the brain. Duh. Everybody knows that. But we don't often just honor it and say, the brain's smart enough, keep our temperature the same temperature, 98.7 somehow. Seems like a random number to me. 98.7, not 98.2 or 98.9. Anyway, and it does all kinds of amazing things, but sometimes we don't give it enough credit. So we in chiropractic our philosophy is very much honoring that wisdom. And fever is a little trickier thing. So if your kid gets a fever, what should you do? I'm going to change that. An outside-in approach would be what? If you are doing an outside-in approach and your kid gets a fever, what are you going to do? Yeah, you probably give them something, child's, whatever it is, Motrin or ibuprofen or something, to try to get the fever down. The inside-out approach would be, why did your child get a fever is the question to ask. And the answer to that would be, usually what? It's fighting something, so the body's temperature raised. Not 500 degrees, it raised a couple degrees, 2 or 3 or something. So if you honor the body's wisdom, then you say, okay, let's just see what we did. I probably shouldn't say this and it's going to be recorded here, but we didn't even have a thermometer. I have 6 kids. We didn't have a thermometer. Now, if the kid really looked like lots of other stuff was going on, of course I'd be concerned. But it was only a fever and they weren't lethargic or foaming at the mouth or something. I said, okay, well, we're just going to let the nervous system do what it's supposed to do. So why is it important to get adjusted? And how does it help your body function better? So we're going to go through vital needs in the body. We're going to start in the lowest thing, even though we think a lot about food. How long could we go without food? Not that it would be comfortable, not that anybody would want to. Yeah, we could go weeks. Gandhi himself, we know, went for 21 days. Jesus went 40 days, but I don't think any of us think that we're Jesus. So, but you could go a few weeks. You wouldn't be comfortable. You wouldn't be happy necessarily, but you could go without food for 2 to 3 weeks. So then we go to water. How long can a person be without water? Less. You're right. In fact, I told the story recently. Hugh Jackman, when he was doing the film Les Mis, so he would really get into character. He says, I'm just not going to drink for a couple of days, see how that is. That is the worst thing he's ever done. He said he just felt awful. Just because your body is 60, 75% water, needs that water big time. So don't want to go without water. And I'm a bit of a water freak. Would you get me my water bottle? That I only drink filtered water. So I have a filter here. I have one at my house. And if I go, I have a couple kids. I know they're not watching this. They don't have filtered water. So I always bring my own. I'll bring a gallon or 2 gallons. Say, hey, here's some water. Because I taste the difference. Anyway, it's made me thirsty. Good for you. Could you get these guys a bottle of water too? Sorry. So, yeah, got to have water. So now we go to the next one. And water does all kinds of stuff for the body, as we already know. So next we get to oxygen. How long could you be without oxygen? Not very long. So this actually, I don't remember where I got it from. Minutes. It says that, I don't remember where I got it from. 1 minute, after only 1 minute, the brain cells start to die. 3 minutes, you get serious damage. If you get to 15, then even if you did live, you would not be the same person. So not very long. So what's one thing that is even more dramatic in the body? So we went food, water, oxygen. What's the one thing that if you don't have, the lights go out in Georgia? Okay, blood, and along with that would be nerve flow. So for some reason, the brain stops getting connected. Nerve flow, it's over. So we're done. So we don't want that. So we go to the subluxation thing, then we're going to go over the different stages. I think there's a better picture than that. I think I have 2 pictures. Yes, I did. There it is. Good. So what do you observe about this? That obviously this is normal. What's going on over here that makes it not normal? Yep. So the vertebra is out of place. In this case, it slid back, which is a very common. It is a very common thing, particularly in the lower back. That's a very common thing that it goes back. Up in the neck, it rotates. You can go side to side. It can go forward and back. Mid back is both a combination of forward and back. Not as much side to side. That's more ribs because we got that rib cage. It kind of holds it in. But yeah, vertebra move back. Disc is not happy, and you got pressure on the nerve, which very, very little amount of pressure on the nerve can cause up to, and I guess my next slide, up to a 60% decrease in function. So somebody, this isn't my original thought, but I thought it was a pretty good one. Would anybody want their marriage, family, work, furnace, car, AC to function at only 60% or decrease? No, that wouldn't be good. So therefore, we should want our bodies to decrease even 10%, but certainly not up to 60%. Isaiah agrees. So here we go. I'm going to talk about the different ages now. Why do babies need to get adjusted? Actually, I shouldn't show you the answer. So what would you guys say? What would be reasons for babies to get checked? There you go. They spit up, yeah. So birth in and of itself is obviously very traumatic on mom. Everybody knows that. But think about the baby. The reason why the baby's got the huge fontanelles, the big opening here and in the back, is because the cranium literally has to get compressed to come through the vaginal canal, because otherwise it wouldn't fit. So it has to be able to squish. And then often the baby may need assistance getting out of the mommy, and you have to pull. It's not that funny, really. Yeah, you think so? But pulling on the neck and head, that can cause subluxation, number one. If the baby wasn't even in the wrong position in utero, could have been that. So that could cause subluxation, number one. And then when they come out and they're all agitated, they got reflux and they're not pooping as much as they should, and they're not sleeping as well as they should, that means they're in that crisis, fight or flight, sympathetic mode. And we see a lot of babies that come in that way. Victoria, do you mind telling one story about the one mom and dad that brought in their baby and there was a change?
Yes, there was. They brought him in, and the baby was, the tone of the baby's cry was the most noticeable thing. And after the adjustment happened, the tone of her cry, it lifted several levels of just the baby was now content. She was subluxated and she was not happy.
Yep.
And when it made it, mom, dad cried, we cried, everybody cried that night. It was such a
that was pretty awesome. And the thing is, if that is the problem, if it is a subluxation, you can do all kinds of medical things, but if you didn't change the subluxation, then the body's not going to work as well as it could. So you're right. That's one of those things. So call it constipation, reflux, not sleeping well, stuck in that sympathetic mode, helping the little nervous system function better. And a happy baby equals a happy mommy equals a happy life. I changed that a little bit, but I thought it was appropriate. So, in fact, we usually get when a kid is colicky, number one, we usually hear him coming. Number two, you look at the mom, you don't make a comment about how horrible the mom looks. You haven't been sleeping much, have you? Because you don't look so good. So, baby's a great time to get the baby checked. We have moms, obviously, that go through pregnancy, come in here. We check the baby, whether there's any symptoms or not, just to see what's going on. Sometimes babies get through the birth process relatively well. Sometimes it's not easy on them at all. So that's babies. Now, next we're going to go to toddler. Why would toddlers need to be checked? Super cute, but what? So, and you think about how many times does a toddler fall in a day? I looked it up online. They said 38 to 50, but I asked some parents, they say, are you kidding me? I can't count that high. Some are more prone to falling, but almost every kid does fall. In fact, when she learns how to walk, how many times do they fall before they figure out the walking thing? Even then, when they do figure it out, they're just kind of jelly-legged, and yeah. So lots and lots of falls. They're wild and crazy. Their little body's growing rapidly. Baby doubles in size in the first 2 years of life. That's the most that a human ever grows in a period of 2 years. So that's a lot going on. And they're figuring things out. They're sensing things. They're not listening to mom or dad to not put their hand on something hot or the fan. That's one that freaks me out. We don't have any fans in here, but it's always freaked me out. Anyway, preteens, they're growing. They have sports injuries. They definitely still have falls and gravity. I really wish that I had had a chiropractic connection when I was a baby into my elementary years and then my teen years, because I was the typical boy. I played all kinds of sports. I got hurt lots of times. I broke bones. I did all kinds of stuff, but nobody ever checked my neck. So, in fact, my most dramatic story, I was about 8 or 9 years old. I had an older brother who was way bigger than me, and he had a temper. So I tried to always, if you're a younger brother, are you a younger brother or an older brother? Yeah. Well, there you go. How about you? Youngest? So younger brothers have a spidey sense that there's trouble. And some chemical thing happens or whatever, and it's time to avoid older brother right now. And sure enough, that happened. We're in upstairs, and I lived in Maine growing up. And we had an upstairs garage, a barn thing, and there was a floor up there, and we had a basketball hoop. So we were playing, and whatever happened, I don't know, but I knew I made him mad, and so I tried to get out of the upstairs barn thingy, and he blocked my way to the stairs. There's just one little way down, and so then my other option was there was a room that the window was open. And I said, I just didn't take my chances. I'm jumping out the window. I'd rather jump out the window. Lots of snow in Maine in the wintertime. I'm just jumping out the window. So just envision this. Here I am, little 8, 9-year-old. I'm running, and he's faster and bigger than me. So as I'm jumping, literally, I'm out halfway out the window. He grabs a hold of my leg. So now I am half out, half in. He's got my leg, and my spidey brain said, "This is not going to end well for you." So here I am now. I'm all the way out the window, and he claims that he lost his grasp. And I know he wanted to see what it would be like to have little brother fall. So I landed on a rock. There's tons of snow. Of course, I hit the one stupid rock, cut my head open. And so I went to the doctor. They stitched this up. But what did they do for my neck? Nothing. I told him, I said, "Hey, you know, my neck hurts too." And they just a little patted me. I was Billy back then. "Hey, Billy, you know, whatever, take some painkillers and good luck." And nobody ever touched my neck until I was in my mid-20s. First time I went to get a chiropractic adjustment. So I do have some degeneration from that never is going to go away. So it's a bummer. All right, so then we get to teenagers. You got all kinds of stuff going on. You got anxiety challenges. I know a pharmacist who works up at the U of U pharmacy, and he says their number one medications that they prescribe are for anxiety and eating disorders. Those are the two biggest things. So therefore gut too. But that's just so much. Teenagers, there's just so much going on. There's hormonal challenges. There's junior high is a tough time, man. They're just rough. In fact, if we had to do it all over again, we would probably figure out somehow how to do homeschooling during those years at least. We have 6 kids. 3 of my kids got through pretty well, and 3 did not. 3 had a tough time, and they got some scars from it still. And we got lots of sports injuries, growth spurts, digestion stuff, and sleeping challenges. We have a couple of girls that come in here who had some pretty serious that, and adjustments have made a big difference in all 3 and did so immediately. So it was awesome. So it's not always the answer, but it definitely has been for them. All right, so we get to be adults. I don't know, that was the first thing I thought of was stress. There's a lot of that going on. You got stress at home, you got stress at work, you got stress with the kids, or if you don't have kids, or whatever. I mean, there's just lots and lots of stuff. A story I like to tell about stress is my mentor got me into chiropractic, was a guy from New Zealand. And I don't know if you ever met any New Zealanders, and I'm stereotyping, but in a good way. He could do anything. He built his own house. He converted a bus into a traveling van for the family. Anyway, it was amazing. So he also liked to sail, because New Zealanders, some like to sail. So he had this big catamaran, and he would go out on a windy day, because that was perfect. He loved the windy day, because it would, if you've ever been on a catamaran, and he'd tip that sucker, and he'd just take off, and you had to get on the high end, or you'd get dunked. Anyway, so when it was a windy day, he was in heaven, and his wife did not like it at all. And if it was a no-wind day, she would be very happy, and he would not. The exact same situation, and they had stress differently. Gravity, stopping degeneration. So for me, I have been getting adjusted now for 40 years, so my degeneration has never gotten worse, but it never went away because it was already there. So when you get that degenerative changes, arthritis in the spine, it never goes away, but you can stop it, and you can get better movement in there, and that definitely is what happened to me. Sleeping issues, very, very common. A whole lot of sleeping pills out there. Stress issues, gravity is always pushing on us. So, and you know, the thing, if you had the choice, I want my body to work at its optimal level, or I don't care. I mean, and when would you want to stop that? I guess that's the one question some people ask me, well, how long should I keep going to the chiropractor? I said, well, that's up to you. But if you want your body to operate at an optimal level, then you would just keep going. Not as often as in the beginning. In the beginning, we see people very frequently. I would say a typical, for me, what I would call a wellness maintenance, I don't like as much, Wellness is getting checked every week, every 2 weeks. And we have on purpose, and I've been doing this now for something 30 plus years, we have something when you get to that stage, we offer something called a wellness plan, which is less expensive. It's not a per visit fee, but it's a monthly fee. And so that is an option if it makes sense to you. So I have just, actually just had somebody come in the other day who came in initially, had major issues with the neck, and a lot of headaches, a lot of high blood pressure, and a lot of stuff going on. His neck was just totally very professional or jacked up. And he went through the program, he did his care plan, everything was going great, he felt much better. Then about a 2 or 3 month period of time went by, and all of a sudden he started to get the headache again because things were jammed up again. So he came in, got an adjustment, immediately started to feel better. So he gets to answer the question, how long do I want to have that happen? So then we get to older people, and I don't define it by any age, but that person's hand looks older than that person. So this is the one we're talking about, and this person could get it for themselves. One of the challenges of older people, I'll tell you a sad story. I had a guy come to visit me in the state of Maine, and he was a tough old guy. He's in his early 80s. Doc, I was out golfing. I hurt myself right there. You need to fix it. I said, okay, well, let's check it out. So we did our normal thing. We did the exam, took x-rays, and I had the bad news for him. I said, yeah, sorry, but this started about 60 years ago. He was in the military. I think he might have even been, I've been in practice for 40 years. So I think he had actually been in World War II. So I think it was that long ago that he had actually survived World War II. And I said, I think they started way back like in your 20s, because his whole spine was basically fused together. And how he had been that functional, I have no idea. But I said, I'm sorry, but this is not your place. So it's been great. You got to 82. And he just, oh, come on. I said, hey, take these x-rays anywhere you want to go, but it's just all fused together. You got this far, this long, lucky you. So for him, I couldn't do anything. So when it gets to a certain phase of the body actually will naturally fuse together. If degeneration goes long enough, you won't have to have any kind of surgery to do the fusing. That's one of the possible options of fusion, of surgeries, is that disc can just totally go bye-bye, and it will be literally bone on bone. And that's what had happened with him, and therefore, nothing we could do. But older people that are not totally in that state, we can help them keep moving. The number one way, can you get me the little model of degeneration on my windowsill? Thanks. The one way to stall degeneration, or hopefully stop it, is to get movement in those joints. And if you don't, then it gets worse. So here we go. Here's the model. I had that little 6-year-old tell me which one looked the best and which one looked the worst. No one's ever gotten it wrong, by the way. Asked a 3-year-old, which one looks a bit best and what's a little worse? Yeah, that one really does not look good at all. That looks pretty good. So the way to not go down this path is to have enough movement in there. And that if you do have a trauma, like I did, dropping on the head, or car accidents. In fact, I had somebody come in the other day, and I knew that they'd been in a car accident. Even though it wasn't new, they didn't come in for that reason. I said, you were in a car accident at some point, right? Oh yeah, actually I've been in quite a few, because their neck just looked different, it had a different sort of tone to it. So if you're here, this is great, stay there. If you're there, you can still get to there. If you're here, that will never go away, but you can stop the degeneration from getting worse, because you can get movement in there. We have a few people come in that are in a phase 2, and we're careful how we adjust them, but we do get movement in there, and they feel their body usually responds and feels better. The arthritis just doesn't ever go away. Can improve the curve, can improve the movement, and that's the one that guy in Maine I talked about. He was there, and I just said, sorry, that's just not ever going to get better, and enjoy the life that you had. And if you can figure out how to play golf and still do something, great. And if you can't, you can't. So therefore, the summary is, we do recommend that people get adjusted from, as long as you want to be healthy, as long as you want to have optimal function. One of the things that chiropractic is a little bit like dentistry on, some people go to the dentist, when's the only time they go to the dentist? When they're in pain. I got a toothache. I can't swallow. I got whatever, an abscess, something or other. I did find out I was somewhere in my 30s, I think. I woke up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden my tooth is just killing me. And I went into the shower and put hot water on it and found out that was not the right choice. So I got out of the shower and I put ice on it. I said, okay, that's a little better. But I had to have a root canal. I don't know what had happened, but anyway, that's what happened. So some people only go to the dentist when they're in pain. Some people only come to the chiropractor when they're in pain. And that's not a terrible thing. I'd much rather have people come here when they're in pain than to take a whole bunch of medications, get surgery, and do all kinds of things to themselves. However, I consider myself an enlightened dental patient because I go a couple times a year. I get checked with a frequency that they recommend. I get my teeth cleaned. They check it every time. They do the exam, and they see if there's anything that needs further attention. I do take care of my teeth. I try to do good things to them. And same thing with chiropractic. So some people do only come here when they're in pain, but we do workshops like this to educate and say, hey, you know what? You could actually help your body work better. Yes, you could, if you get it checked out, no matter how old you are. So my suggestion, therefore, is to look at chiropractic not just as a pain reliever, which definitely we hope that it is, but a increased body function thing. And that's what we have here to offer. So, any questions? Earaches, yes. Earaches, I'll tell another story. Story time. I have been doing this for over 40 years. And in my own personal family, I only had one earache. I'll tell two stories. One kid that luckily had the highest pain tolerance. He was the same kid that we tried to, he had a fingernail, he smashed it in the door. We tried to, at home, do the paperclip through the fingernail. And he was about 8, 9, 10, something like that, maybe 11. And I didn't get it hot enough. So it just made a sizzle, smelled horribly. He said, Dad, get it hotter, do it now. So then sure enough, we got that. But he's the same kid. He was about 7 or 8. And he said, yeah, Dad, my ear doesn't feel very good. And I happen to have at my house, my little otoscope thing you can look in the ear. I look inside, it's red. Oh, I don't see, like red, this kind of red, red. I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Well, I don't know. Why didn't you tell me? He said, it didn't bother me that much before. I had another 1 or 2 kids that would have been screaming their head off had that been going on. But he was a tough guy. Anyway, so I said, so what do you want me to do? He said, well, just do your thing. He said, I know you do something and you just do your thing. And we did throw in a prayer, nothing wrong with that. But I did my sinus cleansing thing. It was late at night and my wife was asleep. So I made my own garlic and olive oil concoction, scared away all the vampires that night. It was major garlic, but I shoved that in there because I couldn't go to the store. A little town of Maine, there's no stores open at 11 midnight. Anyway, and did the adjustment, did the sinus clearing. Next morning, I checked it again, and it was totally white, totally cleared up. And that's an amazing story. But tougher story, I'm here in Utah now. I have a mom who has a family of 6 that do this workshop talking about ear infections. Say, hey, I've always been able to do natural ways to get rid of it. We do the sinus massage. We recommend eardrops, and I recommend Good Earth has a whole bunch of them, different ones you can choose from that have olive oil and garlic and echinacea and different things in it. And get away from dairy. Why would I say get away from dairy? Because I want to make people miserable. Sorry. It's not talking about dairy. That's a bad. But think about milk and cheese, and they produce more mucus. So you want to stay away from that, particularly when you have the ear infection. And we've been able to have resolution in like 99%. A couple of people come in with swimmer's ear. That's a different deal. A couple of people come in with a busted eardrum. I had that happen recently. I looked in the one ear. I said, there's something missing in here, and it's the eardrum. So, and we recommended that they get further attention and so forth. But most of the time, doing those procedures help. So I have this one, mom of 6. She said, okay, well, the next time, I didn't know that was an option. I thought you had to do antibiotics or tubes in the ear or whatever. So next time one of my kids has an ear infection, I'll bring him in. So unfortunately, out of the 6 kids, she did not bring in the one that had the greatest pain tolerance. She brought in the one that had the lowest pain tolerance. So I said, oh, great. Why did it have to be her? Because I knew the family. So we did our stuff and I checked it the next day, still the same. Did our stuff again, did the eardrops, did whatever. Day 2, still the same. Day 3, finally though, it's starting to go away, and eventually it did without the antibiotics. So that's what we do for that. Nice. Anybody, any other questions? If not, awesome. Appreciate you guys coming. Da, da, da.